I was attracted to Islam by a brief contact that I had with a young boy. Sounds bad. I had a Somali student when I was at Victoria. Students were required to do an assignment about consumption, which is what I teach. And his answer didn't fit into the parameters of the assignment, really. So I had to call him in and say, well, this doesn't really answer the question. And so he explained about the way that his family purchased, which was outside of my paradigms of thought entirely. And then, of course, after that, I went to Japan. And when I went to Japan, there were a lot of Muslim students there, and there was an Islamic centre. So I just started reading these books, mainly probably to sort of argue with people. I like a bit of argument. And also because in my class there was a whole lot of Filipinos who were Catholic, and then there were a few Muslims from different countries, and there was a bit of a sort of a class rift. And because I was from here, I didn't know anything about Muslims well, of course I didn't really know anything about Catholics either, but I didn't realise that there were, fighting between religious groups in different countries. And after I started reading, then I thought, oh yes, this is it. So I became a Muslim, alhamdulillah. Oh, being a woman in Islam is really good. I would say that I could definitely have been described as a feminist before I was a Muslim woman. Now I think the whole paradigm of feminism is way too limiting for women. So I say, with more and more study of the position of women in Islam, it's so much more and so much better than feminism, which is totally bounded by modernist logic. I think that Islamic sisterhood is what the feminist project wanted for women. Do you think that's controversial? Between the relationships between women in Islam and from an Islamic basis are very, very warm and supportive. And in some ways maybe sort of old-fashioned to us. Like you have Islamic responsibilities as a Muslim in certain situations, and women. I feel that women in Islam nurture each other and support each other very well, do everything they can for each other, and if there is a crisis of some kind, there's always somebody who can help you. Within the group of the sisters, somebody can do everything. There are, nurses and typists and doctors and people who can paint, and there is a sister for every job, and they will help you. So the solidarity between women is, it's just another aspect of Islam that supports you as a member of a community and the wider community and your family and circles around circles, which is, what Islam is. It's a very happy and fulfilling way of life. Muslim women wear their scarves because they are obliged to. And they're obliged to by Allah, who is not a man, and certainly not anybody's husband, or father or brother. And I think actually the opposite is true, although I wouldn't use the term liberation, which I think too is a loaded term in English. Well, in the West, is a loaded term. My consideration in wearing my scarf is only my as I call it, my vertical relationship, which is between me and the Creator. I started wearing my hijab almost probably within about a week of becoming a Muslim. This is because I am sort of
all or nothingish. And I thought, okay, if I'm going to make the big step of becoming Muslim, I need to know what I'm doing, I need to read all about it, and I need to live it. I need to live it. As I learn it, I need to live it. And everything, I need to put it in, and I need to follow that. I have to do things completely, complete system. So I started wearing my scarf, and that was fine. I started off just, I never had any sort of particularly small stuff, and I was never particularly stylish with it. I always just wore it because I was required to wear it, and of all the benefits of it. And when I started wearing my hijab, I didn't know any Muslim women. So I was sort of organising myself by myself, and as I was living in Japan, I didn't know, of course, I didn't know how to put it on or make it so that it didn't slide around my head, and I had to order all my clothes on the internet because obviously in Japan it was a bit difficult for me to find things to meet the requirements and also fit me. So I ordered all these clothes from Kuwait on the internet and all these scarves, and I ordered all these different things because I didn't know how to use any of them. So I got some tube thing, and I was looking at all these things thinking, oh, okay, and I was thinking, what I need is a wee book. But of course I didn't have a wee book. So I used to practice, and I'm sure that I looked like the mummy, like a big bandage around my head, and I had all these pins all over the place, and I was thinking, I'm walking down the corridor, and in Japan there's everywhere fluorescent lighting sparkling away. I'm thinking, oh look, hey, I'm Elizabeth Taylor. Yeah, well, anyway, so I started wearing my hijab, and I really do think that I look like someone who had a head injury, but I persevered, and now I find that after I met some Egyptian sisters in Japan, alhamdulillah, they all said to me, so did you put that scarf on by yourself? I'm like, okay, I know I need help. So they helped me a lot. So, and they had different and some of them are quite stylish, they've got a bit up here and a bit, and I said, I just need a simple pin one. I've never been one of those blow dry the hair girls, and so I'm never going to be putting pins everywhere. I'm just going to be, So they helped me with that, and now my scarves don't slide around, so alhamdulillah, I'm fulfilling that. The benefits of wearing it, I find, are huge, especially, of course, in a context where people know what my clothing means. But for myself, I find it very good. I suppose it's the same thing that everybody always says. People are forced to deal with me just as they find me, and they've got pretty few clues about how that is. So if I'm sitting on the bus, reading my book, they might think, she's very quiet, or I'm not quiet. Or, any sort of ideas they have, they won't know, and they wouldn't know until they engaged with me. Well, maybe not even at the beginning of that, but they're forced to take me for what I show them. So if I am friendly to them, that's what they know. They can't really get much from looking at me, about me, except probably that I'm foreign, which I'm not. People have some, I don't know, they feel like they can't talk to me, like it's not allowed or something. Do you know what I mean? I don't feel like I am less approachable, but I feel I could be perceived as less approachable. Actually, I think I'm not unapproachable. There's no rules against working, or there's no limitation on me for working, as long as my work is legal within Islam. So, I like my work, and I find it good. It's, I'm in a place where I can do the things I like, read lots of books and talk to people with lots of theoretical ideas. It's good. I find it good. There are some, sometimes you have some problems, and usually they're just these things are about things like work parties arranged at the pub, or things like that, which I don't want to go to, which I don't want to be a part of a party at pub. But within my work, I find, I'm teaching and researching, so I find it manageable. Mothers are, of course, revered in Islam, which is really good, especially if you're a mother. But the whole concept of women and women's value is quite different. So, there's things like you're valued for your unique abilities to, sort of nurture your child when it's in, and also nurture your child when it's out. So this is really good. And you're, it's sort of seen as the fulfillment of a natural sort of role, and it's a whole sphere of life that you are recognised and applauded for, that's not recognised or applauded even by the wider society in the West, where people think of children as a burden rather than a blessing. Soon after I became a Muslim, soon after I got married, actually, of course, I was watching my husband do his prayer. And I thought to myself, this is really funny. If I had have said to my friends at school, those couple of years ago when I was at school, how could you even consider marrying a man who didn't pray? They would have laughed their heads off, Can you imagine that? How could you marry someone who didn't pray? They think, Yes, and I was watching my husband do his prayer, and of course the Islamic prayer is physical, physical movements, and sort of beautiful. And I thought to myself, it's really great. It's before I became Muslim, I thought to myself, okay, well, I've got a good education, and I've got a good family and a happy life, and it doesn't matter to me if I get married or not, and it doesn't matter to me if I have children or not, and And then when I became a Muslim, I thought, being married is an important consideration if you're a Muslim, and I did marry, and then I had children, and it's I've been I wouldn't have imagined that I could have such a good relationship with another person, and my husband is not a New Zealander, so we have cross-cultural marriage, which people always say, ooh, cross-cultural marriage. But of course, my husband and I are Muslims, and our baseline for reference is always Islam. In every decision we reference Islam. And so we have a huge common ground that transcends all other considerations in our marriage. And both of us will submit to the Islamic rule, whatever it is, even however much we might personally find it a little uncomfortable. But I find I couldn't ask for a better husband. And although I'm very grateful for my husband, I think that a large part of why he's such a good husband is because he's a Muslim. It's not just that he's got a nice family or he is a nice guy. He is these things. He has got a good family, but his baseline is Islam, and Islam is good. There's a great deal of miscommunication in the media about Islam, and it would seem to me, as someone whose business it is to research, that it's of course it's obviously not objective, but worse than that, it's intentionally misleading. They always henpick things from reference books. Say they go to the Quran and they pick out something, or they pick out part of something, which is, more often the case,
And so, like they pick out the part about women, and there will be a corresponding part about men, before it or after it usually, but that's the bit that's not there. So it always looks like it's, some huge patriarchal hat squashing the life out of the poor, well-covered women who are ashamed of their bodies. But it's a total misunderstanding of even the beginnings of Islamic thought to have such ideas, which are totally peddled in the media. I mean, and just dropped in these little explosive bombs of untruth that people just accept because, of course, they don't know, and they don't know enough about it to know that it isn't right. The espoused doctrine of New Zealand, where everyone's free. Yes, it's free. You can do what you want, dress what you want, do what you want, wear what you want, look how you want. You can, dye your hair purple if you want. That's totally fine. So my consideration is, why can't I wear my scarf? Why can't I wander about wearing my big dress and my scarf as I want to without being harassed or, what's so weird about that? Do you know what I mean? Why does it have to do with, what does it have to do with anybody else? But further than that, the ideology, the whole ideology of the participatory democracy is that I am free to, do what I want, look like how I want. I'm not breaking the law. I'm not doing anything scary, or I'm just walking around doing my shopping, minding my own business. So what's the problem with that? Why is that why is that anything really? Islam is a complete entity by itself. It's neither moderate nor extreme. It is a way of life. But Islam is the perfect system, followed by many people, maybe all of whom are imperfect. So some people are extreme. As in any group, some people are extreme. There are some also, of course, again, yes, that's right. I'm totally reflecting my own background because I have a problem with the words. What does it mean, extreme? Extreme by whose measure? What is an Islamic extremist? What does that mean? I mean, if say you're an extremist, somebody goes, oh, he's such an extremist, he did the coast to coast. You think, yeah, that's really extreme. If you are a triathlete, you might not think that's extreme. So the definitions of things too. What is moderate Islam? Does that mean that you do your 5 prayers, but you are not as adherent to some other rules? I mean, who's defining the terms? So this is, I have problems with the terms, especially terms that are used in media contexts, because they're so loaded. I mean, what does that mean? What does that mean? Islam is neither moderate nor extreme. Islam is a complete system. Your job is to submit to the will of Allah and learn your deen. You go through and you learn your deen. The better you know it, the better you perform it, the better you are to your community and all others.